people were giving mixed information and they didn't know how to cater to an e-commerce business because I'm trying to sell to every state in America and they're just based in one state, or they're CPAs and accountants and it's above their pay grade.
Welcome to the Mastering E-commerce Marketing Podcast. I'm your host, Eitan Koter, co-CEO of Vimy. In an era of rising acquisition costs and increased competition, this podcast is dedicated to helping you drive sales, engage customers, and build meaningful communities so you can turn passive visitors into active buyers. Don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss out on future content. Now let's get started with the episode. Hello guest and welcome to Mastering E-commerce Marketing. Today's guest is someone who's redefining what it means to make taxes simple, even in one of the most complex industries on the planet. Ruben, the founder and CEO of RJM Tax Exemption, started his business just 6 years ago with a simple goal: to help e-commerce entrepreneurs stop losing sleep over taxes and start focusing on growth. Fast forward to today, RJM has become a global brand, ranked number one in the United States for both tax preparation and a company registry on Trustpilot, with nearly 500 five-star reviews to prove it. Please welcome to the show, Ruben, CEO of RJM Tax Exemption. Hello, Ruben.
Hello, great to be here.
Really impressed with what you've done. Been working with over 5,000 e-commerce businesses. But Ruben, before we dive into the topics of today's episode, as I ask all my guests, I want you to pick like 3 words that are most important to you and why.
Okay, well, I'm going to go with faith, because from faith, that defines so much of you, what you put your faith in life. I'm going to say family because, again, family for me is a huge, huge deal, and I think it should be for all of us. And then I would probably say love, and I don't mean soppy kind of love. I mean a love based in integrity and values, which, again, as a business owner, I believe if you do things out of love for even your clients and your staff, then you'll actually do pretty much everything right. Not to say you can, but I would say faith, family, and love.
Very nice, very nice. When you say faith, you mean the religious part of it or just your beliefs?
I think, I personally, as a Christian, put my faith in Jesus, but I think faith, again, is a really important thing we need to ask ourselves. Well, what do I put my faith in then? And why do I put my faith in that? Because I think if we stand for nothing, we'll fall for anything in life. So I think that's important for us to ask ourselves.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing that, Ruben. So you started about 6 years ago, and obviously you made huge progress. What did you found back then that you thought that might be a good area for me to focus?
Yeah, so I basically started my own e-commerce business, and this was, over 6 years ago. And I just started hitting wall after wall and hurdles after hurdles, trying to sell into the US, particularly as a UK-based person at the time. And from that, it became very apparent to me that after speaking to lots of law firms and big accountancy firms, that people were giving mixed information and they didn't know how to cater to an e-commerce business because I'm trying to sell to every state in America and they're just based in one state, or they're CPAs and accountants and it's above their pay grade. They do income tax filing or, auditing more. So from that, I realized, well, there's a niche here and there's an opportunity to really help people in the e-commerce space. And that's what it was born out of.
Mm-hmm. What was the biggest challenge you faced early on? We're breaking into the e-commerce tax space.
I think just learning how to simplify a very complicated space. So simplifying it so that we can automate it for our clients so they can come in and all the stress can be took off them, that they know they're completely covered. We know we're experts in our area. We've spoken to all of the states. We know everything. I think that was probably the initial big hurdle to get over.
Yeah. So obviously we're going to discuss a lot about taxes and, providing some great insights for brands and e-commerce businesses out there. But I'm also always interested in, as your founder story and your growth story, and why do you think are like the major reasons that you've been able to succeed and again, working with more than 5,000 clients is really amazing.
Yeah, my story isn't typical at all, I don't think, because my first degree was in physiotherapy, as Americans would say, physical therapy. So I was in the health profession. And then I became a science teacher and examiner for 5 years. I tutored kids directly, and I also taught thousands of kids in the classroom setting. all of the sciences. But I was always very entrepreneurial and had a deep kind of burning desire and passion in me to create something and help people. So I was helping people in my teaching industry and in the health profession, brilliant, but there was always that burning desire to create my own thing. And I think that is a big defining part of my journey and who I am, that I couldn't shake it, to a point in which I would, annoy my wife and drive her crazy because I couldn't let it go. So I think I'd obviously tried other bits and bobs and ideas, and this was the kind of one that really stuck. But I think determination, perseverance isn't something you can necessarily just conjure up. I think you're born with it to some extent. I think it's a part of you, and I think it can destroy you or it can lead you down a good path. It's about finding the balance of how to use that in a healthy way. As I said, driving your wife crazy sometimes, it's right. We strike a balance, yeah.
So interesting. You identified this demand and you experimented and tested a few things, but you also had to learn all these new topics because it wasn't something you did in your background, right?
Yeah, exactly. So that's where the passion and the perseverance comes in, because no one could have told me, Ruben, sit down and learn all of the sales tax laws and speak to all of the states and get all of the material and sort this all out and then work out which people to get around you and hire. It had to be a burning desire and passion. So I think, it was just applied to the right thing at the right time. And entrepreneurs out there will understand exactly what I'm saying. That it comes with an ease. There's an ease to it. It's not that it's easy. It's not, but there's an ease to it because it's your passion and your desire.
Yeah. So just for our listeners and viewers to understand, can you please do a quick summary about the company and the services that you currently provide? And who do you serve?
So, of course. So we're currently ranked number one in the US for tax preparation on Trustpilot and for company registry. So those are kind of real specialisms of ours. But our kind of overpinning specialism is e-commerce businesses in the tax space. So if you're an e-commerce business, you sell into every state, you've got state taxes, sales taxes, income tax. It's complex, but we will look at your business and we will give you an full turnkey package which covers everything for you and takes all of the stress and all of the kind of work off your hands. So we tailor it to you and we cover all things taxes. So that was kind of our vision, that was our idea, and that's what we now offer to our clients.
You offer that for, I guess, local brands, e-commerce businesses, but also international companies operating in the US?
Yeah, so we work with businesses all over the world in many, many different countries. I'm not going to say every country because I'm sure there's a country that we don't. But yeah, obviously with a lot of US clients as well, because this is about selling into the US. But there's loads of amazing businesses that expand into the US who were once successful businesses in Europe and other places of the world. And we help those guys as well.
You're in a sweet spot in terms of company size, niches to work?
As in to work with us?
Yes. The ideal customer profiles?
Yeah, I would. It's a hard one to say because even if you're small, you can get success quite quickly in the e-commerce space. It's an interesting one where you can think, well, I don't need to put things in place for my taxes because I'm tiny. And then one of your posts on social media goes viral and then 10,000 people come to your website and then you sell loads of products. Or something changes on your ranking on Amazon or Etsy, wherever you're selling, and things can really heat up quickly. So I wouldn't say there's a size. We work with huge, multi-million dollar businesses, but if you're a business starting out and you're serious, I think you should also get your kind of ducks in a row, as we say in good old Great Britain, and get everything lined up before you're even starting.
Okay, great. So what are some of the common mistakes, sales tax mistake you see e-commerce leaders, are making, and how can others avoid it?
Yeah, so a big one is misconceptions across how different marketplaces deal with your sales tax as an e-commerce business. So you can obviously sell on big platforms like Amazon and Walmart and Etsy and eBay into the US. And if you sell into those which are called marketplace facilitators, they also have the responsibility to collect the sales tax and pay it because the states look at them and say, well, you are selling that product as well as the business who's selling it. You're advertising and selling it. So they will collect sales tax and pay it back. Now, the first misconception comes when people say they've done everything, I'm fully covered. Because actually, if you speak to every single state individually, which we do, there's still a handful of states, around 10, who will say, no, we still want you to be registered to us, to say how many gross sales you're making, say that it matches with what Amazon are telling us, so that we know your transaction history that's going on. Be transparent. So if you miss that, and then down the line you come to sell your business and someone sees that, it can really hold up the sale of your business, and people can think, where are you compliant and where are you not compliant? So that's the first point. I would say the second one, keeping in topic with that, is if you're selling on these marketplaces, and again, I'm totally covered, not got to do anything, and then you go to sell on your own website or Shopify, who don't collect sales tax and pay it back for you, you might think, well, I'm starting from zero selling on these platforms, when actually all of your sales on these marketplace facilitators, be it Amazon, Etsy, Walmart, as I've said, they count towards all of your thresholds of collecting sales tax. So where you weren't having to do it because they were doing it for you, when you switch and start selling to Shopify and your own website, you have to start collecting sales tax from day one on any state where you've crossed Nexus. And that doesn't even necessarily mean the volume. If you've just been storing products in FBA warehouses in different states, that can mean you've got Nexus. So even though you've barely made any sales to a state, you might have to start collecting sales tax straight away, selling on Shopify and your website and pay it, because you've got what's called physical Nexus by having products in these marketplace facilitator warehouses.
You mentioned Nexus. Can you explain what do you mean by that?
Yeah, so Nexus just simply means a threshold that's crossed, which now means you need to be registered for a sales tax account and need to be collecting and paying sales tax back to the state. Now, they vary, so I can give you a quick whistle-stop tour of the different Nexi, which is probably the plural of Nexus, which I've not thought of before, but the first one is economic Nexus, which is a simple one, which is just the volume of sales you're making. So that can be the number of sales, like say 20 units, or it can be a dollar cost value, say $100,000, and it's per kind of 12-month period that you're looking at. Each state has different thresholds, obviously. I won't bore you and go into that. You then got physical Nexus, which I just touched on, which is if you store any products on state soil, then generally the rule is then you've got physical Nexus if you're storing your products on their state, because you're saying, well, you're doing business in that state. So that means, again, you've got Nexus. You've got other ones which are a bit more kind of complicated. Another one you can have is affiliate Nexus, which is when somebody is, say, advertising your business or products for you. Say they're based in California and doing loads of the work for your business. Well, then that can give you Nexus in California because you've got a representative there who's an affiliate and selling your products. People can miss that. And then finally, you've got a click-through Nexus where, say, someone has another business that's advertising your business, say through a website. They click onto the website and then go through to you where their business is based. That can trigger your Nexus. There's a few other nuances as well. Like, obviously, do you have an office? Do you have employees in the state? And that comes more into physical Nexus again. But as you can see, there's a lot of nuances to it and parts that you can miss.
Interesting. So any of those scenarios that you mentioned, now you figure out that you are surpassed the Nexus threshold, let's say. So what's the best approach? Do you need to actively approach the state, just officially announce your activities, share them with your data? What's the process that you recommend?
Yeah, so when you know you've crossed that, generally you would go online and you would register an account with that state. Or if you've obviously come to a business like ours and we've flagged that for you, you would then have us do that for you. But yeah, the important thing is to get that account set up, start declaring your sales as soon as possible, start to work out if you should be collecting any sales tax. Because again, going into errors that are made, if people miss the boat of sales tax, the old sales tax boat, and it's already sailed off and they owe sales tax, they should have been collecting it and they haven't put the settings in on their Shopify or their website or their payment processor to do it, they still 100% owe all that sales tax to the state, but it will just have to come out of the profit of their business. Because sales tax, obviously, when you collect it properly, that's just on top of your gross sales price, so you don't lose out. So that is one of the biggest mistakes that happen.
Of course, and it's important to just differentiate between, and we talk just about this transactional sales taxes on a per state basis. But obviously there is also the place of registration of the company itself, right? And company obviously on an annual basis needs to submit her tax filings. So there are two different scenarios that you obviously oversee, right? When you're working with customers.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, wherever you want your business to be based, you need to have a sales tax account registered in that state just because your business is based there. And that is if the state has it. So you've got a handful of states like, Montana, Delaware as examples, don't have sales tax, so you'd have a business license instead. But yeah, where your state is based, you're going to be looking at state tax as well, which is where it's a really interesting point to be aware of as a business when you're first starting. How much state tax does the state charge me where I'm registered? Because that is hugely, it's going to vary hugely. You can go to California where it's huge, it's over 10% of just your extra profit coming out before you've even paid income tax or anything else. And you can go to Wyoming where there isn't any. So the difference is massive and worth looking at.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Any other sales tax obligations worth mentioning on probably working on various platforms like Amazon, Shopify, Etsy?
Do you know what? That whistle stopper I gave you was pretty decent. I think it did just cover the majority. You'd have to go into, the kind of real nuances of like little kind of laws. And I don't want the viewers to fall asleep quite yet. So we'll keep pushing on past that.
Yeah. So what's the best time for any brands to approach you? I mean, just at the beginning of the operation in the US market? Because, some of these things, you don't think about it as a founder on day one.
Yeah.
But as you rightly said, right, when you exit, then all things needs to be fully transparent and evaluated during due diligence. And then you figure out, hey, I owe this and this amount. So just be proactive on tax planning and, with companies that work with companies like yourself, just to make things more professional and clear from day one of preparing your business for exit.
Yeah. So I mean, with us as a business, you've got nothing to lose because we'll do a free tax compliance audit for you and check. So first and foremost, we'll do that for you and just for peace of mind, let you know. And because we have a price match guarantee as a website, we'll always give you the best price online out of any company. We're that confident, but we're never going to hard sell you on anything. We're not one of those companies. We're just, tax professionals. So yeah, nothing to lose, doing it right at the start. Of course, we have big businesses who end up coming to us after, who have gone to other companies and have made mistakes, or they've tried to do it themselves and miss it. And of course, we fix that and sort that for them, no problem. But of course, always best to start as soon as you can.
Yes. So we all know that if you're on Shopify, for example, and you do Shopify Pay, they take care of tax calculation on every transaction. A lot of companies are using TaxJar or other apps. And we know that Amazon, probably Etsy, will handle sales tax calculation for you. Is it correct or is it just a myth?
I think it's a pretty big myth, because as mentioned earlier, even on marketplaces like Amazon Collect and Remit, they don't tell you which states you need to register to just for compliance sake. And then when you're selling on Shopify, they may be able to collect the sales tax for you, but they don't tell you when you need to. And then they don't cover all of the different types of Nexus that we just mentioned where, you can be crossing and needs to start collecting it. So big misconception, big myth.
Nice, interesting. What are the biggest misunderstandings that non-US sellers have about US state taxes when they just launch their US operation?
Yeah, so the first one I would say is, because I'm not based in the US, I'm exempt from loads of things. I'm exempt from sales tax. Of course, I don't need to do that. I'm not in America. Of course, I don't need to even look at income tax because, my country must have a tax treaty with the US, so that's fine. So those are the big ones. And kind of to do with the tax treaty, you've really got to look at what permanent establishment is. So really, if you have any reason that the US think it classes as permanent establishment, then you should be actually paying income tax. But there's ways, obviously, to avoid that. We have some really good blogs on our website where you can educate yourself on that. So that's a big one. And then I would say, even if you do have a tax treaty and no permanent establishment, you still need to file certain document to the IRS, income tax documents, to state your position and prove your position, so you don't need to be paying income tax to them. Most people would say, well, I don't need to do anything because I don't need to do, pay tax to them.
Interesting. And obviously working with Amazon or with TikTok, you need to have a local company, local bank account, local business representative. I mean, all these like just fundamental in terms of structuring. Obviously, tax planning is another ingredient. So, what would be an ideal way for a foreign e-commerce brand to launch in the US from your perspective?
So I would say you pick a state where you are happy with the legal representation of that state for you as a business, because different states have different levels of protection for you as an e-commerce business of what you can be sued for. So check and be happy with that. Then secondly, check you're happy with the state tax that state is going to charge you, as mentioned. And then I would say get your compliance done early doors, as we've already touched on, and make sure you've got that lined up. And then I would say probably ideally have a US bank account, which we help clients open. We help clients open a real US bank with your own debit card, proper back office. You can get some companies like TransferWise that are now called Wise, or a few other companies that can give you a US currency account. But that isn't quite the same when you're dealing with certain businesses, when you can have an actual full US bank account, and you can build kind of credit rating as well, and it's more respected. So I would say probably looking into a bank account is maybe more on the ideal side. You'll save transaction fees as well versus having to pay into a foreign transaction bank account also.
For sure. And I like a lot of digital banks today. It's very easy to manage this internationally as well, right?
Yes, and that is the main one we work with is a really good digital one, and they have really great cover as well for how much money you're covered in the millions of dollars insurance wise.
So Ruben, we must talk about tariffs, right?
Oh yeah,
is our doing no we don't. But how do you see brands are adapting, or they're changing the strategies? They're shifting, gears in terms of operation, cost reduction, pricing. Well, what's happening? What are your top recommendation on this topic?
Yeah, well, it's a topic that's quite close to home for us, because we recently made a great partnership where we were going to pretty much be Amazon Italy's main partner for transitioning Italian sellers over to sell in the US. But unfortunately, as that partnership formed, the tariffs happened and coincided with it. So we got to see then all of these Italian sellers, why they now don't want to come over, and all of the reasons why, and then all of the solutions they're trying to find. From where we're sitting, there doesn't seem to be a great solution. I think the solution is waiting out the storm, because this clearly can't last forever, and people will see sense of it. I think it's probably more about people being in survival mode and not overstretching themselves until they can re-strategize and go again. But of course, there's always ways around it. I'm not going to pretend like I'm an expert in working that out, and I don't want to say something in case it's wrong as well in that particular area. But yeah, we've seen people be massively hit by it, and it is a really difficult time to be in. So rubbish answer as far as solutions go, but I can say, yeah, I don't think it'll last forever, and we'll find a way out of it.
Okay, so for any international company who actually operating through let's say a daughter company, right, in the US, the US company just sending invoices to customers, probably they're holding inventory somewhere, that won't be under the new tariff rules, right?
Yeah, I hope not. Again, it doesn't seem set in stone yet, so fingers crossed. Eitan.
So Ruben, 500 5-star reviews on Trustpilot. What's the secret of building such a strong client trust?
We've been busy. Yeah, so I would say if you look after your staff, I alluded to one of the words being love. And again, it's not the soppy type of love or romantic love. I mean, if you love as in genuinely care, have concern, empathize, get onto people's level, put yourself in people's shoes, think how you would feel valued as a staff member. If you do that and do it consistently and people know it's coming from a genuine heart, I think a lot of good will flow from that as a business. You'll get loyalty, you'll get people doing their best. It's the whole concept of like less is more. If I try to force and control people think that gets more work. But it's actually the opposite. If your hands are off more and you kind of show belief and love and support, obviously you've got to have some way of tracking it, and there'll always be exceptions to that who take the mick. But for the most part, you end up with a really strong, loyal, brilliant staff team. And if you do, then you end up with ratings like this on Trustpilot, because then your clients feel valued because it goes down from that. And people obviously talk about that all the time. It goes down from leadership, and it drips down like a waterfall from leadership to staff to clients. I totally agree with that. So I think that would be the key principle for me.
Yeah. And this is probably the way you generate more opportunities these days, through like word of mouth, or what's the best strategy for you? Word of mouth thing.
Exactly. I think if clients are valued, they're way more likely to sing your praises and for you to get raving fans talking about you. I think that does happen. And then even when you've served the business well, because we obviously have B2B business partnerships, they will tell other businesses and, they'll share that. So I think that is definitely a natural cause and effect for sure.
Yeah. Can you share an example of one of your clients? Maybe they started like completely overwhelmed, did a lot of mistakes, and left clarity, re-saving. Can you share one story?
Yeah. So I would say there is a client. I won't go into obviously I'll keep the details a little bit vague for the sake of personal kind of business protection, but they were a business who were doing plus $1 million in sales a year. They were growing, they were expanding, they were already collecting sales tax and paying it back. And they came to us because they weren't getting the customer service they wanted from the company. So when they were trying to kind of reach out and get a real clarity on why are we collecting sales tax here, should we be doing this, it was kind of a bit of a robotic generic response. And they were getting worried, like, is this going to come back to bite us again? You want to exit as a business and have a great sale as a business at the end. So they came to us, and then we did an audit, just a compliance check, a free one to see, and it was an absolute mess. And again, I'll block names, but they were with the leading sales tax and tax e-commerce business in the world. And for us, it's mind-blowing that can happen. But I think why this happens is because these big companies, they outsource a lot of their work to just other countries and clients, like wherever, all over, outside of their base. And the more you do that, the less quality it gets, the less personal it gets, the less kind of it can be checked for quality assurance. So yeah, we took a business which was in an absolute state. We cleared everything, cleared all of the fines that had built up, all of the issues, got them registered to the right states, closed some states down they shouldn't be registered in, got everything set up. Now they don't lift a finger. Everything is perfectly assessed and tracked, and they're, peace of mind for them. So that's quite a common thing which we see, but it was quite rewarding because they were a great business. And I feel like that was the one big thing that was holding them back for just enjoying the journey and having peace of mind with it.
Yeah, perfect story, perfect example. So where people can find you?
www.rjmtaxexemption.com is our home. You can look us up on Trustpilot. If you search RJM Tax Exemption, you can check out what the clients are saying about us. But if you pop on our website, you can book a free call with us to chat for anything, book a free sales tax compliance check. And we would love to just have a chat with you. Again, it's going to be super relaxed. We're not going to be hard selling you anything. We're not that type of company. But yeah, hopefully we can give you a bit of peace of mind, even if you don't come with any of our services. We'd love to kind of point you in the right direction. And we've always got tons of blogs and information on our website, which are really good quality, which can help you educate yourself as well.
Nice, Ruben. Anything else you want to add?
Look after yourselves, guys. Your business could be the most valuable thing that you could ever make. And it can give so much to you. So protect it from day one, particularly if you're picturing yourself having a nice buyout and a nice sale at the end. Because, short-term ignorance leads to big long-term issues. So if we put a little bit more work in at the start, you're going to save yourself a lot of hassle.
Amazing, Ruben. I think it's a very, very important episode, obviously, for any founder out there. It's one of those things that you think are not worth of spending time and focus. There are so many other priorities, obviously, on product, supply chain, marketing. But everything needs to be in the right place and work correctly for the entire thing to just skyrocket and be very, very successful. So really, thank you so much for sharing all your insights. And let's keep in touch. I'd love to hear from you in the future. Thank you so much, Ruben.
Absolute pleasure. All right. Take care.
Thank you for listening to the end of this episode. If you found this episode valuable, please subscribe so you won't miss any of our future content. And if you could share this with just one person, it would make all the difference. Are you looking to accelerate your sales with the power of shoppable video? Explore Vimeo, the video commerce platform that includes live shopping, shoppable video, and social commerce capabilities. Visit Vimeo at www.vimeo.net, that's VIMMI.net, where you can start with a free for life package. We appreciate your support and look forward for bringing you more valuable insight in our next episode.